Welcome to the O.W.P. This is our wrestling podcast. This is Dave along with Jess.
Good evening, David.
Cuz.
Hello.
Craig.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. And now on to our topic today, the legacy of Yokozuna. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. Don't forget, we're also part of the Wrestle Hub family, all about wrestling podcast. Catch them at the Wrestle Hub on YouTube and Instagram. What's going on, guys?
We are coming up on the 20-year anniversary of the death of Yokozuna.
Are you serious?
Yeah, wow. He died. You're going to say it later in the notes, but he died in the year 2000 in October something, late October. And we're rapidly approaching his 20th anniversary of his death.
That will honestly be close to the time when this releases, yeah.
20 years. What the fuck, right? Wasn't he just world champion like 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
It feels like it. Two-time WWE champ, bro.
Man.
Worse than that, like the older you get, you realize that man was 34 when he died. And what a life he packed into 34 years. And like, man, it's awful. But he packed a lot into his little short time there.
Awful that it was short, but it had the impact he had on the wrestling world was pretty great.
Yes.
Even though probably as kids we didn't see it, if we're being real about it. Probably one of the best hills you'll ever see out there, right? Well, you kids ready to get started?
Yeah, Jess. Actually, why Yokozuna? I think that's an important point to start. Like, it's an unorthodox choice.
I think I was on a YouTube kick, and like one video leads to another, and then I stumbled upon the fact that we're reaching his 20 years of his passing, and so I was like, wow, like we've never really talked about Yokozuna, and like he actually wrestled many big names. I can't think of a prominent name that he hasn't wrestled that hasn't been relevant in the last 30-40 years in professional wrestling. He wrestled a lot of them. Brett, Hogan, Undertaker, Stone Cold, you name it. Like he's pretty much
Mabel,
most people. Mabel,
Mabel,
one of the goats,
right behind me, bro.
Virgil,
Hacksaw Jim Duggan,
Virgil. Yeah.
Just to spit. I love it.
But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it's I don't know. Like a lot of people. He's well regarded for sure. But I mean, like he was really a short time span. But he was used heavily, and I do not mean that as a pun. I mean like Vince used him. When Vince brought him in, Vince was like, yes, like this is my heel. This is my big boy.
He knew
This is my Bundy, my Andre, my one-man gang, my Kamala of that generation.
This is the attraction that he always wanted, the attraction. And it was. He was. We'll talk about it more, but he wasn't.
Night, right? For sure.
We'll talk about it in pieces, but he wasn't just a big man that couldn't move. Like he was.
Oh, boy,
he almost doesn't get the respect that he actually deserved.
He's so big.
We'll talk about it. But
yeah. But
he was amazing. Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Like you read this and you're like Yokozuna, like, but hold on. Like you'll get it.
Buckle your seatbelts, as Craig would say. Born Rodney Akatupu Anoy on October 2nd, 1966 in San Francisco, California. Most of his career was in the WWF, and he was billed from Japan. He was actually a Samoan American. Most people do know that. His uncles were Afa and Sika, who were what? Who were those guys?
The Wild Samoans. The Wild Samoans.
You can't say that. The Wild Samoans.
The first 3-time WWF Tag Team Champions.
That's right.
No big deal.
That's right. And they began training him to wrestle at a very young age in 1984. He started out in Japan as the Great Kokina person of high regard is what that defines too. And he would also wrestle in many Mexico promotions. His first big break was an American promotion that would come in the AWA in 1991. He was known as Coquina Maximus and billed as the biggest sumo wrestler ever.
Which is funny as fuck, because when I was doing the research, I was like, of course Vince makes somebody that looks foreign Japanese, because why not? But then I was like, wait a minute. He fucking were already trying to make him a sumo wrestler, which you don't have to be Japanese to be a sumo wrestler. However, like, I just thought it was funny that he actually was tagged with that because of his size before the WWF. Weird. Like, really weird. How instead of just a big Samoan, they were just like, no, he's the sumo wrestler. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I guess that's pro wrestling for you.
Incredible. Yes. I mean, I don't even know where you go to get tights that would fit in, honestly.
And then let's look at the other aspect. Look who he has as a manager.
That's frightening. That is absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
You take somebody with that much size, weight, strength, and
strange world we're living in,
and turn him over to Sheik Adnan El Casey, and this.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the legacy of, and I think that's why Vince McMahon, I think anyone that touches that family lineage of the Anoa'i, Anoid, and family. There's I still don't know the correct pronunciation, but that lineage from head shrinkers to the Wild Samoans to Rock to Roman Reigns to Usos to Yokozuna, like, they are just amazing workers, legends. I think for years and years and generations to come, Vince McMahon will still sign in and help promote anyone in that bloodline for good reason. So it always helps, but
they earn their due for sure.
And they still want to go with the shorter names too.
Gosh,
as we find out.
Well, let's get into Vince and the World Wrestling Federation. Vince McMahon contacted Rodney in 1992. He was interested in bringing in Rodney, Fatu, and Samu. They would later become the Head Shrinkers, a very good tag team. Rikishi, that's right. In the fall of 1992, Rodney would debut at a dark match as Coquina in September 1st of 1992.
Are they all cousins, or is Rikishi brother with Yokozuna? How's it? Does anyone know how it works?
I break it down later in the notes, but it kind of briefly tells the lineage a little bit later.
Okay,
we'll get there. Okay, sounds good. It's just
it's like a mixing pot.
Stick to the panel.
Yeah. But shortly after his debut, he
follow the notes, Craig. Shut up.
He'd be approached with the Japanese sumo wrestling character.
Where is Samoa, Dave? Do we know? Is like that a country, or is that like a philosophy? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry,
managed by Mr. Fuji. Yokozuna would make his television debut on October 31st, 1992. I was probably out trick-or-treating. I don't know. Under the Japanese flag, he would wear a mawashi, or a loincloth, with wrestling tights underneath. Vincent Fatu, who later became Rikishi, as Cuz had said, felt he did not need to wear any tights underneath and wanted the spectacle of his massive thighs and buttocks exposed like a real sumo wrestler. So glad that didn't happen.
Cottage cheese.
Show me that. Show me your big thunderous thighs.
Shake that sumo butt.
Stretch marks.
Rodney, however, said hell to the no on that.
You know what? Good call, Rodney.
Good call, Rodney. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And opted to wear long tights underneath. At the time, Rodney, later known as Yokozuna, obviously weighed close to 500 pounds, even at this young age.
I'm glad that he did the long tights. Honestly,
it kind of was.
If you look at the picture behind Dave, and I'm not trying to be rude, when he got larger in the picture behind Dave, he was closer to 600 pounds.
Right there.
Can you imagine the red tights being gone? I mean, honestly, it would be
I don't even know how your
junk's
junk's getting covered at that point.
Well,
I don't even know.
Right, that and like he was actually taken seriously as a heel because he wore the tights under. If you take it away and you make him, not that Rikishi wasn't serious, because Rikishi could work his ass off in that ring. But I mean, he was a comedy act. He was a dancing act with Too Cool. But because of the fact that he was super exposed like that, Vince wanted
his butt was a joke. His butt was a joke.
Finally.
Exactly. He said he did the stink face. So I mean, like, Yoko's like kind of in his mind's probably like, if I'm going to be this badass heel, I'm not going to have people laugh.
I'm not going to look like a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather people fear me a little bit because of my size and stuff. So I think it was a good call. I might be reading into it, and I'm not saying Vince was trying to be negative. They wanted him to look like an actual sumo wrestler who does not wear long tights under. They just wear the loincloth, and that's all they wear. But I mean, I think Yoko knew, like, I'm going to do kicks and shit. So, do it.
You can't go 20 minutes in a sumo gi. Like, it's sumo matches are 25 to 45 seconds long. Like, that's it. You cannot go 20 minutes like Yokozuna could go in that with the rolls and the gun showing. You just can't.
A standing crescent kick, Yokozuna could do. And kick you right in the face. That would be very odd. By the way,
it wasn't even a true loincloth that he's wearing there. If they tried to make him wear that, I mean, maybe they had something better in mind before the tights came, but that shit wasn't going to work.
You know,
like, I'm not trying to be funny. He would spend half the match tucking his testicles back in the loincloth if he.
Sonny, Sonny, where's one of your thongs at, Sonny? I'm gonna let Yoko try it on.
Oh no.
Oh, my Yosh came out.
Dave's first. Oh, no. I love Dave. Oh, no.
So, fuck.
At the first pay-per-view for Yoko, it's Survivor Series of 1992.
Before you even talk about first pay-per-view, Dave, I think it's important to talk about how he was built. And kids don't realize Saturday mornings.
Like a monster.
Oh, God.
How monsters got built. And you don't see it today, but like many weeks of Yokozuna punishing preliminary opponents with, and he had two versions of his bonsai drop, which was he would lay on his heels and he would let his heels go. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, you would watch this monster break the tracheas and necks of the most farmer tanned journeyman workers. It was a tremendous build. You could not hide the fact he was a monster and he hurt people, and it's so different than it is now.
Do we have proof that he broke ribs and I mean, seriously, I would look at it and I go, how did that person not, like, did Vince have to pay him $500 and his medical bills?
Just 20 years of Jess's videotapes we watched over and over on Saturday morning.
That's what I'm saying, right? But we never heard what happened to those guys legitly.
There's a lot of they released a lot of new episodes of Superstars of Wrestling on the network the last couple weeks, and there's one particular one that I watched, and it was the Saturday after WrestleMania where he lost to Hogan, and that prelim. Because the whole gimmick was like, Yokozuna's coming angry today. He wants to I don't remember what date it was. He fucked this prelim up so bad. Even Liz, my wife, was like, that's out of line.
That's
and I was
violent.
like, no, yeah, he fucked him up. Like, he just pushed him in the beginning of the match, and he pushed the prelim so hard, the prelim flew back and folded on his neck, and you could tell he knew he had to take a bump, but he did not know that Yoko was going to run at him with that kind of pressure. And like, this poor prelim looked at him after that going, am I going to die? Like, he was just totally like, and I was like, fuck. And like, everything he did, the belly to belly suplex was harder, the leg drop was stiffer, and he did that bonsai drop with heels out. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
we used to rewind it and you can almost hear the prelim yell, please get off, or like help, or like you could hear them speak like, fuck, please stop.
He bounced. He would do and bounce on the opponent like with his bonsai.
Yes.
I would honestly, if I was a prelim wrestler trying to make my way up to the world of wrestling, and I love it, I would look at the roster that day and go, Yokozuna? Yeah, I fucking quit. I fucking quit.
Right, because ultimately we're not bashing Yokozuna. I believe overall he was very safe. Like Dave said, he questioned it, but I never heard of anybody getting hurt. But
I never heard of an injury.
But yeah, like one false move when you're a prelim, you know what I mean? Like, and he's going to be stiffer on you. Yeah, he's going to be stiffer on you because most people were on prelims. They were safer with the stars, and that was just their job to beat the shit out of prelims. But like, I don't know if I would
enhancement talent.
Yeah, I think I would be like, I'll catch you guys next round. I'll skip the Yokozuna match because, man,
and you know, like, I think I'm coming down with the flu with the shits.
Yeah, I don't feel so hot. I don't think I can take a leg drop from a 600-pound man.
Anyway, Yoko beat them all.
At Survivor Series of 1992, made his pay-per-view debut, defeating Virgil in a singles match.
Another
We all
jobber.
knew who that was going to go.
Yeah, another enhancer talent.
Yeah, jeez.
Must have been a close contest. Go on.
They went Broadway?
Close.
Dave, did they go Broadway?
Yeah.
Broadway,
It's
Dave.
like, I think it was a
60 minutes?
They were
draw.
there. It
60
happened.
minute draw.
But a career-defining moment came at the Royal Rumble in 1993. Yokozuna would win the 30-man over-the-top rope match to earn a shot at the WWF World Championship at WrestleMania 9. I think it's the most realistic Royal Rumble when you think about it. It's
Well,
not
and
flashy,
he
but
was
you're
the
like,
first
how am
man
I
to
going to
do
get
so.
this
That-
guy over the top?
First man to
That
what,
was the
Jess?
first year. That was the first year that they put that stipulation where the winner of the Rumble
Oh,
would
that's
win.
right.
Yeah,
He
because
won
the year
first
before,
ever
the
Royal
winner
Rumble.
won the title. That was Ric
Yeah.
Flair, right?
Yes, in '92, Flair won the title because it was
'Cause it
vacant.
was
but
up for
Yokozuna
grabs,
won
yeah.
the first Royal Rumble, where the winner, and now every year the winner gets a shot at.
Yep.
Now they get to pick their champions or whatever. But back
That's
then,
part of the Rumble,
he
baby.
was the
Homemade,
very
I love it.
first winner. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. He threw him out from the floor. Let's go and get the official word.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Royal Rumble,
Yokozuna on his way to WrestleMania 9.
It was a great Rumble. The realism of it, like, they didn't have a huge kind of roster, but, like, it was booked for Yoko to win it. And then the final couple guys were Martel, Rick Martel, and Backlund. Savage was number 30. They did a very strange thing where Savage gets his final comeback.
Yeah, he goes
and
to
doesn't
cover him.
elbow drop,
Oh,
goes
that's
to
right.
cover him. Yoko
Yeah, he throws
presses
him
him
up.
up, and
Yeah,
then
he just presses him
Savage.
up.
I was like, Savage, you're better than that. I don't know who booked that, but
But
it was really good,
Rope.
and it's a
Savage
great.
brother.
Go back and watch it because it shows
Well, he
how
pressed it- he
agile
pressed
he
him out
was
of the
at
ring, right, over the
450
top.
pounds. Sorry, Dave. What?
He pressed. When he covered him, he pressed him
Yeah,
out
he
of the
kicked-
ring.
He kicked out and threw him out the ring. Yeah,
Yeah,
but he's so agile. The thrust kicks, the belly to bellies, like he was special. Like, just go watch it.
Like
Like,
belly to belly suplex than Yokozuna. I mean, there's very few when you think about it because the impact of it. It's the best, right? So, and then Yokozuna would wrestle on the first Monday Night Raw, defeating Coco Beware. Wow.
I only noted that because he was on the first Raw.
Yeah.
Yokozuna was on the very first Monday Night
You
Raw
forget
ever.
that, right?
Did Coco go
when you
over,
think
Jess?
about-
I mean, so, yes,
Oh,
Coco
yeah.
defeated him in
bird
about
bustering,
90
yeah,
seconds.
and the drop.
When you
kick.
think
Nice.
about early Raw
gave him the
moments, everyone
brain
thinks
buster.
about
He gave him-
everybody thinks about
Yokozuna!
Who's next?
Yokozuna. Because when you think about it's not necessarily the first Raw, but you think about early Raw, you think about 1, 2, 3 Kid beating Razor, even though it's not the first Raw, but that's what everybody remembers. You don't think that Yoko was on the very first Raw ever.
Yeah, I mean, I
That is
remember
true.
Coco
So was
lifting him
Damian
up.
Demento.
Coco
I
Goldberg.
remember saying.
Yeah, there you go. Yokozuna, and it would be in a side feud at the Rumble Mania. It was taped for WWF Superstars that Hacksaw Jim Duggan would challenge Yokozuna that he'd be the first man to knock him off his feet. Now, you got to think about this for a second. No one's talking about beating Yokozuna yet. They're just like, I'm going to be the guy that takes you off your feet. If this is not the biggest heel build probably in WWF history that's televised, right? That's got the Raw versions and Saturday Morning Wrestlings. I can't think of one. I'm going to be the first guy to knock you off your feet. And granted, it is Hacksaw. We all know Hacksaw is
But
just,
he almost rewound time, in my opinion. It's funny because it was everything.
was
He
the heel
took the
chase, right?
qualities to build Yokozuna. He took the qualities that Hogan did to defeat giants his entire career.
True.
Every Hogan match against Bundy, Gang, Kamala, Andre, whoever, was just like, Hogan punching them and them doing the like, and then finally Hogan will get him down or slam him. And that was a big deal. That was that was his story from the beginning of the match to the end. Vince is like, wait a minute. I'm going to do that in his career. I'm going to start, this, and then I'm going to make an angle where someone can knock him off his feet. Then I'm going to make another angle where someone will slam him, and we'll get into that. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's weird. It's like he took a Hulk Hogan match, but stretched it out to 4 years. Like, it was kind of
It's
cool.
it's
the way
really
they did it.
impressive when you think
Yeah.
about it. It's really impressive. It is the long game here. It's the heel game that rarely you see in WWF at this time.
He did
So
dare I say this though?
Mm-hmm.
He had the freedom to do this because there was no Hulk Hogan saying, I'm beating him next month, right? Like, because that would have been, I've always thought, God, Yoko would have made so much fucking money with Hogan in the 80s. And he would have, but it would have ended with
it would have been brief.
Bro,
yeah, well, it would have been like
tops.
a nice 6-month run to a year because
Yeah.
they were able to do feuds like that back then with less TV and more house shows. But I mean,
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
true.
it would have ended with the slammy poo and a leg droppy poo. That's what it would have ended with. And
Yeah.
so, and Yoko, I'm
God,
sure
Yoko
would have been
would have
fine.
really
And it
jumped
almost
for him,
did,
wouldn't
right?
he?
WrestleMania 9, it almost did end him. And if Hogan wasn't
Yes.
on his way out,
Yeah, it might have.
if he
continued.
didn't get the receipt like the King of the Ring win,
Yes.
he just would have like made his way back down the
He-
card.
but yeah, he avoided the Hulkamania bullet for sure. And like, it's good here because they were.
Yeah, well said.
They were trying to find their face here. They didn't have a Hogan anymore. I mean, they did briefly. Well, Dave will get into that in a second.
Yeah,
but they
we'll
didn't
look
really have a Hogan anymore. So you were left with mortals, and by that I mean like Brett, Luger to a certain extent. He was a big dude, but I mean, they were mortals compared to what we had been taught that Hogan was 8 years before. So
Mortal.
Vince actually got to groom a heel here, not just a 6-month program. So Hogan could pose. It was I can actually fucking stretch this man out. And like Craig said, Hulk kind of comes and almost fucks that shit up. But I mean, like Vince actually got to play a little bit. Oh my God. I had 5 of these guys in the 80s and I just fed them to Hogan because he was my moneymaker. But now I can actually take one guy.
Yeah, Andre
And,
Bundy.
and that has
Bundy.
all the qualities. He has a quality of Andre. He has a quality of Bundy. He has a quality of One Man Gang. And I can actually stretch him because the only faces I have to face him are a washed up Macho Man. No offense. Bret Hart, who's 5'11", 86 foot. I have these guys that actually will struggle with this massive monster. I don't have a hero that I have to kill the monster within 6 months and feed
Yeah, I don't
someone
have a
else.
300 pound.
He knows they came from he comes from a great family. He can go. He's agile like a cat at his weight. Like he's just so different than a guy who deserves to climb the mountain, get beat by someone, and then just fall back down.
I'm glad that
I mean,
we're on a
he
Hogan
was special.
drought here because I feel that if Hogan never left in '92 and stayed the whole time, I don't know if we would have seen Yoko truly develop into what he could be done. Hogan would have been like, brother, he's my opponent at Mania 9. I slam, I win. You know what I mean? It could have easily been that. And Yoko could have just been another mid-carder and been fine, I'm sure, for a while. But I'm glad he had a chance to be this heel
fuck yeah.
coming out of the Royal Rumble that people were like, who the fuck's legitly gonna beat this guy? We'd seen Andre. Andre was 7 feet tall, or plus, and 500 pounds. But Yoko wasn't tall, but the weight that he carried in his thighs and hips was like a fucking spectacle. And then when he does a standing
big,
kick,
mean
you're
guy.
like, holy shit! Like, this guy can stand and kick you in the face.
We
Hey,
respected him back then in 1993.
From a
we
kid
knew
perspective,
he had
was
chop.
believable to me.
Yeah.
He was really believable. I was like, holy shit, that guy's
And-
fucking mean. I want to
Yeah.
see the Bret Harts of the world beat him.
And then
Yeah.
you take that into an actual bit of symbolism because guess what? In 1993, on Edition of Superstars, Duggan does succeed in knocking Yoko off his feet. But all you do is poke the bear on that one. Yoko would get pretty upset, attack him, and crush him with 4 bonsai drops, crushing Duggan's ribcage, according to the storyline. Then he drapes the American flag over Duggan's body when he delivers that 4th bonsai drop. It's literally Japan crushing the US of A at that moment.
Yeah.
The symbolism there is quite relevant. And people in the crowd were like really noticeably upset. I mean, people were freaking out. And this was on, like you're talking about superstars.
And
this was
they
everywhere.
did. I want to say they put a blood capsule in Duggan's mouth, and he spit up blood. Like, I'm being serious. Like, so there was levity to it. Like, they did
Duggan's
stuff
a hero.
really good. Yeah.
Mr. Fujinal, what is going on here? Is there no control? Is there no dignity whatsoever? Jim Duggan is unconscious. Fuji laying the American flag over a great American.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I was like, wow. Like,
Was this
like,
the setup to Luger? Is that what this was?
No, this was a setup. This is before Mania 9. This is
Wow.
in
Yeah,
between
so
the
it's all right.
Rumble. Yeah, to
Yeah.
kind of warm, Yoko up. Keep Yoko red hot and villainous for Brett.
Okay.
At WrestleMania 9.
Yeah. And speaking of WrestleMania 9, Yokozuna would actually defeat Bret Hart to win his first WWF World Heavyweight
He
Championship.
debuted, by the way, on pay-per-view in 1992 in November. and he defeated Bret Hart in April of '93 for the world title.
Yeah. And then held it for the next 10 years. Thanks everyone for joining Joe's on Wrestling.
And nothing happened at all
Good night,
afterwards.
everybody.
Nothing happened after that.
He threw something right in his eyes, and the referee could not
The
see it.
ref did not see that. Another illusion.
That's Bobby. That's
Look at this.
Yokozuna hooks the leg.
We got a new champion.
Yokozuna's won the title.
We've got a new champion. Yokozuna's done it. Yes, he's a
Fruitful run. No one fucked with it at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this would be the shortest reign of a WWF champion.
Oh, my bad.
Seconds.
I was wrong. Sorry. Go
Similar
ahead.
to Andre's reign in 1988, which would only last seconds as well. This is the infamous Jess running out of his house, almost breaking his screen door in the process.
I loved Hogan.
That's
Now
your
I
boy,
look back
Jess.
and I'm like, this is
Explain
all
that.
bad. But
We've
I
talked
did.
about it a lot,
I did.
but yeah.
1993, Jess ran the. I think I told everyone in my living room to fuck off and die, and then I ran out of because everybody else hated Hogan except for me. Which now I look back, I'm like,
We were
well,
all
they had a
like,
point.
what just happened?
Why does he fucking beat everybody?
Yeah,
And so I ran out of my living
after
room.
cheating to defeat Bret Hart, Mr. Fuji would get on the mic and challenge Hogan. You want my Yokozuna? You know, and a championship match. Hogan accepted, and he ducked it when Fuji threw the salt at him, which he just frequently, very recently threw at Bret to have Bret lose, and causing to go in the eyes of Yokozuna. Hogan would deliver a clothesline and drop the leg to win his 5th WWF Championship, black eye and all.
The eyes of Yokozuna. Hogan knocks Fuji down. Hogan left close down, and down goes Yokozuna. Hogan drops the leg. Hogan to the cover. No. Hooks the leg. And Hogan. What a time. Believe it. Hogan. What's going on here? Hulk Hogan has won the title. The winner of this bout. Listen to this crowd.
World Wrestling Federation champion.
Hulk Hogan's the new champion.
Yokozuna had the title for 3 minutes.
Guess what? He didn't slam him though. Damn it,
Brother.
Didn't happen, brother.
Brother.
Didn't need to. What a bunch of
Yeah,
shit.
Yoko gave him that black eye when he figured out he was gonna fucking job to Hogan that night.
Yeah.
Everything was fine.
should've.
Everybody
Brother.
was fine.
Everything was
No,
fine.
nothing to see
Ronnie,
here.
no, brother.
Everybody move on.
Yeah.
I swear you're gonna
So-
get your win back.
Obviously caught behind the scenes.
My word is my bond, brother.
Yokozuna was protected in the storylines by claiming the match was not official since there was no contract signed between he and Hogan. A rematch was scheduled for the first ever WWF King of the Ring pay-per-view on June 13th of 1993, and he would defeat Hogan with the help of an exploding camera. I hate that ending, by the way.
So dumb.
Huh?
This is in the archives, right, Jess?
To win
Eye
his
for an
second
eye, brother, right?
Harvey Whippleman.
That's how I'm gonna lose.
To win his second WWF title. After the match, he would
This was
deliver
that was some
bonsai drop to
Frogger
the fallen
Knocker
Hogan.
bullshit. Just go into
which-
quickly how that ended and what King of the Ring. What?
So Hogan can't just like get salt in the eyes because they're already obviously building Yoko for that, right? Hogan beats Yoko by letting it backfire. Or first, Yoko beats Bret, salt to the eyes. Okay, Hogan foils it at WrestleMania 9. Yoko loses. Fucking bring the salt
Makes
back and
sense,
just do it
brother.
again. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Instead, they had a photographer that was dressed up. Harvey Wimpleman, who was behind the costume, was never meant to be exposed as Harvey Wimpleman. It was supposed to be a Japanese cameraman that Fuji and Yoko paid off.
Why couldn't you
to
just
stand
get a
on the
real
apron.
Japanese
Which is
cameraman?
racist when you think about it.
It's weird.
Looking back now.
Yeah, because
really
they had
is.
other actual
You-
Japanese cameramen around the ring, but that
Yeah.
one just had a Fu Manchu beard on. No, I'm not even shitting you. Like
No,
a Fu
yeah.
Manchu beard or whatever. They're like, dress Harvey up. Because apparently Harvey Wimpleman's the only one that could operate a fake fucking camera that explodes. Japanese people cannot operate that shit. They don't know what they're doing. So
No.
Vince was like, the only person I can go to is Harvey! And he comes in and he's like, do you need me to do the camera thing? He's like, you read my mind! And they fucking went out there and did it.
Up on the apron, that's a dangerous place to be.
Well, these pictures are so.
Oh my God!
What was that?
This camera exploded.
What the-
Right in Hogan's face. This camera exploded in Hogan's face. Yokozuna drops a leg on Hogan. Yokozuna on the leg hook. Yokozuna.
We got a new champion! We got a new champion! What the hell happened? Obviously, his camera exploded.
Ladies
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to Howard Finkel for the official decision.
The winner of this bout and new World Wrestling Federation champion, Yokozuna.
And that's why Hogan had a fire shoot out of a camera, and then Yoko dropped the leg on Hogan, which is kind of to mock Hogan and pin him. And,
but not only that, he would deliver the bonsai drop to Hogan wherever. And I think I want to say Heenan's back there going, Hulkamania is dead.
Yeah, Heenan loved it.
He was just going to make another movie. It's all good, brother. It's all gravy.
And go to WCW about a year later, brother.
Oh, that's right. He wasn't.
Treat me like that, brother. I'll show you.
No, he was doing that TV show. What was the TV show?
I'll start the NWO, brother.
Thunder in Paradise.
So he was going away to do Thunder in Paradise series, and then WCW snagged him at that point.
Skinny Hogan, brother.
Skinny. Best shape of his life, brother. Telling you.
Yeah, he's
now, back on track, Yokozuna would continue to be the top heel in the promotion. He would challenge anyone to slam him. He would hold an event on the USS Intrepid where anyone from wrestling or any other sport for that matter could attempt to slam the now 550-pound Yokozuna. Also, they would have to do it on a certain date. Oh no, which is the 4th of July. Everyone failed to slam the monster until, out of the clear, blue American sky, Lex Luger, fresh off his heels of the narcissist gimmick, which we're like, when did that end? We didn't even know. We're like, wearing red, white, and blue tights and a polo shirt, stood nose to nose with Yoko because Yoko wasn't that tall. In the middle of the ring, Yoko charged him with Luger moving out of the way. Then after hitting him with that forearm, which we all know had that plate in there, brother.
It's loaded.
You know, it's loaded. It's been loaded for years since that motorcycle accident. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Luger actually body slammed.
That's where he put all the steroids.
The stunned Japanese sumo wrestler. The crowd went crazy. This whole publicity stunt was pulled off to perfection. Yokozuna also added Jim Cornette as the American representative to accompany he and Fuji to the ring going forward.
Prepare, yes, for the slam. Prepare for the attempt. And the look of intensity in his eye told the whole story. And then from there it happened, the 550-pounder charge. Luger ducking out of the way, nailing Yokozuna with a 6-inch steel plate in the forearm. And from there, yes, it was unbelievable. Lex Luger had done it.
Forward.
And can I say, you know, a lot of people don't. Jim Cornette's very active on social media and controversial and everything nowadays. But you know, widely, I think it's regarded that Bobby Heenan's the greatest manager that ever lived.
We believe that.
But honestly, like if Cornette is very close.
Oh, this is a hot take, by the way.
Yeah, Cornette is really good. He was really good. Heenan had a bigger role. He managed heavyweight champions, and that's different. Heenan like toured with Hogan and made the crowd pop because Hogan would finally get his hands on him at the end of the match, and Heenan would barely escape, or Hulk would, you know, atomic drop him, and Heenan would fucking fall and put a neck brace on and be like, "He hurt my neck." Like, so Heenan was so good. Heenan got a chance to work with the tippity top guys. I mean, Heenan was on the main event level with Hogan, Andre, you know, Bundy, all those guys. I'm not shitting on Cornette, but Cornette never really until this point, he never really managed a top singles wrestler. Cornette had always managed tag teams like the mega popular and legendary Dynamic Dudes. And then also Midnight Express, which legitly that's the legendary tag team.
Right, but regional, like never a huge like national presence.
But
like
Cornette was known, his promos, you wanted to kill him. And like Cornette was so good in there. And so I was happy. I was a fan of Cornette coming from NWA WCW. And when he went into WWF here, he actually owned Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So Vince kind of threw him a bone and would kind of lend him talent. So that's why Jim Cornette surfaced here. But I loved the pairing. Jim Cornette, a lot of people don't talk about him. If you say, Jess, who's your number 2 manager? I'm like, God, it's got to be Jim Cornette. Like he's very good at commentary. He's very good on the mic. He's amazing. He's just like a Bobby Heenan, where you want to be like, I want that motherfucker to die. Can someone fucking get him? Like, it's awesome. I was happy to see him here because finally he got to manage a heavyweight charge, a guy that was the champion and the top guy. and he fit right in with Fuji. It was just like this little weasel piece of shit, like getting in there with a Japanese. He's American, but he's like, oh, I'm representing this guy because you guys don't know how to treat him. There's guys don't know how to treat. Yeah, this talent, this man.
Nothing more heel than an American sympathizer for a foreigner in wrestling.
Yeah, and I think nothing it worked out great. There's, I know that's a bold statement to say. There's a lot of great managers, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody. No. Jimmy Hart, the Grand Wizard. There's a lot of managers that were very good.
Cornette's on the monument, man.
He was unapologetic. He could have gone further in his career than he did because he didn't take shit. You can see right now how he kind of still isolates people and still says the wrong thing, and it doesn't matter. But his love for the business and his passion and his memorabilia collection,
his memory and everything, and like the shitty, he's amazing. Like he really is amazing.
I will always. He's the only dude I've ever seen actually fall from the scaffold that I remember. And he's a manager, a skinny guy that busted both his legs. He had his balls and his stories of pulling a gun on people and his fearlessness. Like, respect. I think he's crazy now, and I think he has the wrong takes on a lot of things. But respect, all props in the world to him. Like, and he loves the business, and all he's ever done was love it and wants to respect it. That's why, like,
he wants to preserve it. I mean, he goes overboard to bitch about how he wants everything old school, and I know he's going the other way, but he's doing it because you got to do that sometimes. If you,
he loves it.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you need someone at a 7 or an 8, you're going to push for a 10, knowing they're going to fall to a 7 or 8, right? I mean, that's like basic management. But like, so Cornette's like that. He's like, dude, I got to over push the old school because some of this new school shit is so flippity dippity and so high spot heavy. It's like you gotta push hard, and knowing that even if it influences the product a little bit, the old school, you're happy with it,
the fundamentals. Like, the old school.
Yes, the fundamentals.
And because I cut you off, can talk about Cornette.
Don't fuck you guys.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
It's all good.
I said that you have to at least put him on the top 4, even if you're not going to pick him as number 2.
Right.
He has to at least be on the top 4.
Cornette's and he's on. He's on it.
Same thing like Yoko. He as a kid, from that perspective, I wanted to watch someone kill Jim Cornette. I hated him.
That's the job. That is the job. He did his job.
That was his job.
He
did it.
So with Luger as the new American babyface out of nowhere, and Yokozuna as the evil heel Japanese dominant world champion, the stage is set for the main event of SummerSlam of 1993, with the added stipulation that this would be Lex Luger's only world title match as long as Yoko was the champion. It seemed like Vince and company would have Luger defeat the monster and become that new WWF champion, but instead, Luger would only win by countout. Rather than him being upset that he blew his only opportunity to win the world title, the babyface emptied his locker room and hoisted Luger on his shoulders and acted like he did win the world title.
Jess, what was Luger's song through this whole thing? What was the montage song?
It was the I'll Be Your Hero.
Yes, that's what it was. I'll Be Your Hero.
And the Lex Express. So first of all, the Lex Express has become
There's a lot to unpack here, right?
Yeah. Yes. The Lex Express has become a joke, but let me tell you something. It was not. It was smart.
It was running wild.
And it worked. Vince loses Hogan. I know people bitch about Brett. Brett should have been fucking... And I'm not disagreeing with you looking back. But at the time, Luger looked like a goddamn $1 million. Luger always did. I always feel that there should have been a time that NWA/WCW should have fucking put the rocket on Luger when he was face before they finally did, and they turned him heel. Luger was getting massive face reactions in WCW and NWA. Luger, I mean, Flair lost 100 times that fucking world title of his. And Luger could have been one of those people, and we could have ridden a Luger wave for like 6 months to a year of people cheering the shit out of Luger. You didn't have to be an amazing worker to be champion, goddammit. But Flair and them, their belief, was like, and a Jim Cornette influence, by the way, back in NWA WCW was like, workers are our champions. Workers are this, workers are that. And I get it, because you want to respect the business and people in it. But what brings in the monies is the Hulk Hogan's. Hulk Hogan's a smart worker, by the way, and that's what separates him from Luger, is Hogan actually could work within his talent limits. Luger was boring and a stiff in there, but he had a lot of momentum. You fucking put this title on him. You put him in a bus for fucking 2 months.
Boy's jacked.
He tours every fucking country. He's a fucking... You put a stipulation on the contract that if Luger doesn't win, this is his only world title that he will get as long as he's champion. fucking do it. Yoko can beat him back in a few months. It's fine.
I gotta tell you, that's what I wanted to kind of preface this out for you, Jess. I know it's not in the notes, but this is the question. We all say it, they lose faith in Luger, but could you argue that they just looked at Yoko and said, "This, I don't think we're done yet."
Right.
No, isn't the story that he blapped his mouth, or is that just bullshit?
I think it's. I want to say Luger's debunked that. I want to say Luger's like, no, I didn't. Like, I was never planned to win the world title. It was always going to be Brett.
Okay.
It was always Brett beating Yoko in the main event to get his revenge for Mania 9. Yeah, it was always that. Luger was like, It
just makes no sense for the effort they put into Lex and that bus, though. That's so not Vince.
I think because it is, though. It is Vince, and I'll tell you why. And I understand what you're saying. I get why you think that. But it is Vince because Vince is Vince until business is bad. Recently, this week, when we're recording this, he's released 60 fucking people. It's not because they're hurting in business. It's because he's paying them creatively. Because Monday Night Raw's dropped down to a $1.7 million million in the ratings.
If the house shows are down and on that bus tour, it's over.
They're not doing house shows right now. But I mean, like, you get my point. Is like back then, wrestling itself was on a decline. From the end of 92 all the way through to like 97, they were trying to find the bottom, right? To stop it from falling. So like he was like, I need Luger. And when Luger didn't work because of his booking, that's why Luger didn't work. He's like, well, people are cheering Brett more and kind of booing Luger now. So let's switch gears. Let's go back to Brett.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was Vince's Vince until the money starts to slip. And then Vince is like, fuck, we need to do something right now.
That's true. He always tracks the house shows. That Alex Express was not working with the house shows, with the ratings. He would pivot. That's a very good point. Like,
he probably trusted Brett was going to stay.
But I think that it was working fine enough to where he should have beat Luger, or he should have beat Yoko. Excuse me. He should have beat Yoko for the title at SummerSlam. Yoko's a heel, and he's 550 pounds. He could get his heat back. If he got his heat back from Luger in 30 seconds to Hogan at Mania 9, he'll get his fucking heat back from losing to Luger. It's fine. Like, you know, but Vince just got scared. I think he was like, no. Maybe to Dave's point, I got to keep this monster big because I don't think Luger's my guy. But you know what? Yeah. Look, you want to know what it was? Luger's not my Hogan. And you're never going to find that until comes along. And
that's the thing.
That was organic.
He only needed the PR win for Luger to win that night, to be on the nightly news. And then to your point, he could have beat it back next pay-per-view a couple weeks later. You only need that nightly PR hit. After SummerSlam.
God bless America. You know
right,
what I mean?
That's all you needed.
That would have worked.
It seems like it would have paid off. I don't know. Who knows what would have happened.
And Yoko beats him back at Survivor Series or fucking Royal Rumble. It's fine.
Maybe there was something like Luger could not prove his loyalty.
Dave, yes, you build up a Raw match a couple months later.
Yeah.
There you go. Even better.
Yeah, there was. I bet there was something where Luger could not prove his loyalty.
Later, but I remember thinking when Luger won by count out there, and they literally it was almost like Vince on purpose was booking him to piss us off, because like Luger knew what the stipulation was. Luger beats him by count out. Wasn't even disappointed that he won by count out. The locker room empties like he won the Olympics, the gold, and they lift him up, and Luger's all.
Well,
like, you're fucking
with
stupid.
the exception
like,
of the fluke with Hogan, that's the only time Yoko's ever really lost in an actual match, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a big deal.
That's why I think it's a pivot, though. Like it was all there except for the pin.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the weird thing about it. It truly brings up a lot of questions I still don't think are truly answered.
Luger was on a handshake deal.
Yeah.
Trust him.
So
Lex wants to talk about future
for the remainder
earnings.
of the year, Yoko would feud with Luger in tag matches, and at Survivor Series of '93, Yoko's team would lose to Luger's team in a traditional Survivor Series match. Who was in those matches?
I want to say it was Luger, the Steiner brothers, and Undertaker against Yoko, Ludwig Borga,
and Ludwig Borga.
I think Ludwig Borga and the Quebecers, but I think Ludwig got replaced. Ludwig got replaced at the last minute, and Crush got put in.
No, Ludwig was in there.
Crush, yep. Fuck you, Crush.
Wait.
You lost it for us, Crush. Dick.
Yeah.
Wait, Crush replaced too?
Fault.
Yeah, no, Crush was heel. And they just turned
purple and
Crush heel,
silver
I think, too.
makeup.
So
And this was the beginning of Undertaker and Yoko, like a double count out towards the end.
Yes.
It was Ludwig and Luger left in the ring.
To your point,
Yes.
I want the two Hawaiians together. Kona
That
Crush
sets
and
up a
Yoko.
casket match at the Royal Rumble '94 between Yoko and Taker.
But there's a great moment, sorry, Dave. There's in Undertaker's this year, and it's been so incredible to hear Undertaker's words and to hear him talk about his 30 years in the business. Like, there's so much diamonds to mine. And he talked about how much he loved Yoko in an interview with Corey Graves, and he talked about how seeing his first match in his first house show, he said to Vince, please let me work with this guy first.
The notes
and Vince wanted him to work.
I saw the same interview, and I put that in the notes here because he wanted to be Yoko's first program ever on the big stage.
Yeah. But instead it was like, your guy is here. And then Giant Gonzalez comes walking down the hall. And Undertaker admits in this interview with Corey Graves, he's like, he's one of the reasons I left WCW is because I didn't want to work with Giant Gonzalez. And now you're making me. So he became, him and Yoko were close, backstage crew, besties forever. He got choked up talking about him. Like,
get that name right.
Great feud, Yoko and Undertaker. Yeah. Continue.
Mark, you don't want to work with Giant Gonzalez? Come here for a second.
So, well, fucking Last Ride documentary, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, so he wanted that first push, but it didn't happen that way, right? So he kept Taker in the middle of the card to work with, with Luger, Yoko, and Brett at the top. I just got to say that when you saw this casket, you knew who was losing. It was so.
Was it a big fat wide casket?
It was the biggest casket you ever saw.
I bet that's not true. He didn't lose.
What?
He didn't
He was
lose.
supposed to.
What are you trying to say?
But the rematch
Undertaker
with Chuck Norris.
Yeah. So
was that okay?
What?
Sorry.
Go
Unwind the Chuck Norris piece.
So the finish saw a number of top heels come out of the locker room and help Yokozuna destroy the Undertaker. After stuffing him in the casket to win the match, Yokozuna began to wheel the casket to the back until smoke started coming out the sides.
What?
Up on the video screen was the Undertaker, who appeared to be talking from inside the casket. He said, blah, blah, blah.
Read the note.
Like an angel.
I'll be back. You got me. And then
read the notes. Exactly how they're written. Stop
and I'm reading the notes as they're written. And then he fucking floated out of the arena.
Which is garbage.
This has got to be it. And the Undertaker, ladies and gentlemen, is not moving. Men are outside around the casket. Look at Yokozuna. The Undertaker built this casket himself. What I think he's just done, built himself an extra large house. That's it. There's the lock. That's it.
So a fun side note, do you know who was dressed in the Undertaker costume that actually floated out of the building on cables?
Crush?
Nope.
Who?
Marty Jannetty.
That guy always finds a job somehow. Yes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's really is someone in the casket.
I think oh no.
This was okay.
Let's go check out the casket.
I know we're supposed to.
That's a horrible joke, but I just yeah.
I know we're supposed to. I know we're supposed to honor Yokozuna, but one of the worst moments ever as a fan was the ending of this match.
It's stupid.
I never bought into the Undertaker's character up to this point. I hated the Dead Man.
Not here.
I would learn later.
You always hated him. You did.
Yeah,
we did. We really did.
Hate him. Not as a person, but I hated the Dead Man gimmick early.
Yeah.
And so the match was good. I loved it. I love the pairing. It makes sense that Yoko finally takes on Taker. They do the cheat thing. They get him stuffed in the casket. Yoko doesn't lose. He retains the title. This motherfucker, Undertaker was legitimately injured for a while, so he had to take some time off and recoup some injuries. They make him float out of the fucking building, and I still get so mad. It's dumb. Go back and watch. It's dumb. I'm not even mad anymore.
It is dumb.
You go back and watch Royal Rumble '94. It's the stupidest shit.
You're dumb, Jess.
However,
you're dumb.
Later, him and Kane would train lightning battles. I don't know how that fucking
that was
flew.
stupid.
I mean, seriously, this was the kind of stuff where we would
if
go
I had
to...
a non-wrestling fan in the room and they watch this shit, they'd be like, why do you watch
what is your
this
problem?
shit?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Actually, the thing is, what was funny was back here at this age, I still believed a lot of it was real.
Yeah.
And I remember I actually remember this moment very specifically because I think you let me borrow the tape. And
was there vomit on it?
No. But I remember thinking to myself as
then
a
it
kid,
wasn't
like,
my tape.
I started questioning, the realism of wrestling when I saw that moment.
This was the moment,
right
huh? Wow.
Yeah, but I still then went back to believing it was real
for a long
up until
time, bro.
Like when you went on the
But that's
video screen and they did the coffin
kid.
purple cushions because you got to see the inside of the casket when they were doing the match. And so Undertaker's on the big screen. He's like, "Fear not, blah blah blah," and he said whatever he said. I'm gonna go away for a while, rehab injuries. This shit's rough. And so he
did say that.
and I was like, already right then, before they did what they
My
did,
patella is moved in the
oh,
kneecap.
fucking camera coffin, fucking bullshit. I was already mad at that. And then they float him out of the fucking building, and I was like, I hate everything about this. Like back then, I was like Jim Cornette. I was like, motherfuckers, this is not fucking wrestling. I was so mad.
This is not wrestling, Vince.
Well, to your point, we've talked about Taker. We've talked about booing him in house shows and making kids cry, and we're terrible people. But this was why. This was the kind of shit that would just make you so mad. You're like, why are you doing this?
I guess looking back, Hogan hulking up was ridiculous.
I was gonna push back on that, Jess. The same thing.
It's like Rocky finding the inners, bro.
Undertaker was a dead version
Hogan
of Hulk
didn't float out of the building.
It's whatever connects with you, right? And it depends on how old you are.
Yeah,
even today,
you were
there's
younger
the segment. I think that's a very important point that Cuz said. It's like that moment for him was like, oh, what? No, this is kind of getting bullshit. But there's that point where people, if little kids are seeing, it's like, wait a second, people are booing. This is kind of bullshit. Like Hogan's the same thing. Like if you're in the right wheelhouse and he's always trying to build new fan base and take people along with him and have that little stretch of supernatural, whatever, and stretch that limit.
Well, for Hogan, you heard that, right? What was the match where you started hearing the boos? Sorry, not the boos, but when you saw him lost against Warrior, right? You saw some people jumping in the background.
That early? Okay.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say, those people were probably the ones who are like, I'm tired of this shit.
Yes.
Like, I hate this stupid shit.
There's always
But I'm sure 44-year-olds watching during the Hulkamania period was like, this Hogan's stupid. The future is savage and warrior. Like we are no different than the dudes yelling at Cena with the kids in earshot. He's forcing this down his throats, guys. It's just the same period. He's appealing to the same different people.
Flew out of there.
It's an algorithm. Fucking wrestling's an algorithm.
Vince was like, I was knocked out the whole time. Vince, what are you talking about? You just went up there. So no, someone came up behind me, did chloroform in my fucking face.
And on that same
I thought that was you going out of the building.
It is needed to be noted that Bret Hart and Lex Luger would spill over the top rope at the same time, making them co-winners at the Rumble of that same pay-per-view. That's very important because what happens in WrestleMania 10 is that Yoko has to defend his title
wrestles twice. That fat dude wrestles twice. And I just want to say that Royal Rumble ending could have gone so wrong, but it really did work. Those both feet kind of it seemed to hit, or they managed to make it look like it.
I love the ending, but the funny thing is so funny is when this is me booking from 2020 back, and I'll fully admit this. I was doing the notes and I was like I stopped after I typed the Rumble notes. I was like, why the fuck didn't they just restart the Rumble and fucking let him do 5 minutes? And let him fucking win a winner. They did that with Cena and Batista. In 05. And I
hate when I catch myself with that stuff. When you overthink it, it's stupid.
And
you're right.
It did not lead to the first triangle match either, by the way, which you would think, okay, it's a triangle match like at Mania. It's the first ever. No, they did a coin flip, and then it was like a mini tournament, but to make things even, since Luger won the coin flip, Brett had to fight Owen, which I'm glad we got. But
underrated
when you think of the logistics about it, you're like, why the fuck did any of that happen? By the way, both tied, all the refs fought. Why couldn't Jack Tunney
or funny? Why did they just restart the Rumble?
Yeah, come out and be like, here's the deal. It was a tie. Dingity ding ding ding. Fight. there you go. And then the next person to throw him over would fucking win.
They did it with Brett and Sean Iron Man too, right?
Yeah, they didn't do any of it. Right. And so they didn't do any of that. And look, I was typing the notes. I'm like, why the fuck did they just restart the match? It makes no sense. They'd be like, well, if it's a tie, we don't have a fucking winner. We got to do a coin flip on Raw. It was so ridiculous. It was so.
But to Jess's point, WrestleMania.
But to Craig's point, it was a greatly booked and timed event. It was awesome.
It was well done, and we get quite a gem in that opener at WrestleMania 10 with the brother versus brother match. It is a fantastic match.
I'm glad we got it.
What happened?
I'm glad we got that match. It's fine. Craig's is frozen again.
Yeah, I caught it.
I just realized that too.
Okay, well,
and his house just lost power, so that's okay. We'll power through.
And we're gonna keep his picture right there. We'll just keep it going. So, So because of that, Yoko has to defend his title twice. A coin flip determined who would face Yoko first, and that was going to be Luger. Luger obviously does not come up with the title there. And what the heck happened to my notes? Everything jumped around. Give me a second.
He would. Mr. Perfect was a special guest referee, and he kind of came back as a face. But at the end of this match, Luger was cleanly beating Yoko, and then you could tell Perfect didn't want to count 3, and then Luger went and pushed him to be like, dude, what's up, man? Why aren't you counting 3? And then Perfect looked at his shirt did you just touch a referee? And he rang the bell, and then so it was supposed to set up a Luger and Perfect feud from WrestleMania 9, where Luger as a narcissist.
By the way, that match was no good anyway. That was oil and water.
Right. So that they were supposed to play that, but I don't know why Henning never came back here at this point. I think he was supposed to, and maybe
you could argue the contract or the back.
Yeah,
it's one of the two.
Something happened to where it never ended up happening. So unfortunately, this angle went nowhere. The whole Mr. Perfect turning on Luger kind of thing. But
Luger really got the short end of the stick on this whole year run for sure.
Yeah.
In that main event, Bret Hart would defeat Yokozuna to win his second WWF Championship. Little side note, we've talked about it in Bret's histories as well. That's when Brother Owen comes out because he defeated Bret at WrestleMania 10 in the opener and says, I just beat that guy, and that guy's now the champion.
It's funny because I've always critiqued Bret, in his first title run. And unfortunately ended like shit. Yoko should have cleanly beat him at WrestleMania 9. Hulk should not have fucking interfered. It's a whole thing. And but they did it right. For WrestleMania 10, they kind of just reset everything and said, you know what? This is going to be Bret's moment. And it was awesome. And it was a really good match. Yoko wrestled twice that night. Not short matches either. He put in his work. Yoko was awesome this night. And Bret was, it was awesome that Bret went over. The place went crazy. Everybody celebrated with Bret. So this was Yoko's last heavyweight championship reign, by the way. He was still going to go on. He still had some career left. But yeah, this was it as far as the main event level was concerned.
It's not moving. Wait a minute, he's losing his balance. He just lost his balance on the rope. What? He hit his head. 1, 2, 3. No! We have a new champion. No way! Bret Hart somehow has done it.
Absolutely. But after dropping the belt, Yokozuna's main event status began to fade away. He briefly tagged with Crush, another Mr. Fuji charge. In 1994, on a Monday Night Raw episode, Yokozuna was challenged by Earthquake to an actual sumo match, and Earthquake would actually beat Yokozuna in that match. By the way, a side note there, Earthquake Tenta actually did legit
do sumo
Yoko work.
And was a badass, and will fuck you up.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Also in our archives, Wrestling Getting Real, where Tenta was getting stiffed by a couple people in Japan. I was like, Tenta's one move away from messing these guys up. He could legitimately hurt you. You tend to forget about how good Earthquake was, John Tenta, and you don't realize that John Tenta had quite a bit of moxie in there. He could go with a lot of people like legit go, and to see that, I think again we take that for granted. But Tenta would have beaten Yoko in an actual sumo match because he had the experience. He understood how to throw his weight around. John Tenta doesn't get enough credit, man. That guy, that guy was pretty good. Pretty good athlete. So this continued for the rest of the year till Yokozuna had to face the man that he tried to destroy, the Undertaker. They wrestled at Survivor Series in November of '94. In that casket match, Yokozuna tried to bring several heels out of the locker room and to have that repeat earlier in the year. But goddamn, Chuck Norris stood in the aisle and round kicked any heel who dared to try to interfere.
He is unquestionably one of the premier movie stars in the world today. He is the star of the hit TV series Walker, Texas Ranger, and is a martial arts expert extraordinaire, making his residence here in the great state of Texas. The one, the only, Chuck Norris.
What an ovation, ladies and gentlemen. Texas own Chuck Norris.
This allowed Taker to stuff Yoko in the casket. This is when the casket was, obviously we knew it was big enough.
Yeah.
And Yoko would finish the year doing house shows and then take some time off. Why was he taking time off? Jess, was he hurt or was what was going on?
It was a little
rehab.
bit of weight loss. I think they wanted him to try to rehab himself.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
They said you're getting too big. He was over 600 pounds at this point.
Yeah.
By the way, what kind of diet and regimen are you pulling to gain that kind of weight?
Honestly,
Fried
I think,
chicken.
yeah, he was just eating carbs like a madman. He didn't care. Like he just had to him putting down like literally like eating a chicken. He would eat a whole chicken. Like he would eat, it was crazy. I mean, he's stuffing himself. So
There's
much.
stories of Undertaker inviting him to a barbecue. Undertaker inviting him to a barbecue and cooking because he knew he liked turkey tails, which are like the asses of turkeys. And Undertaker barbecued like apparently 40 for him. And Yokozuna ate 40 turkey asses at an Undertaker's party. And then there was that also like sushi restaurant video with Fuji too, where he ate like
He was like Andre
plates
Giant,
and plates and
legendary
plates.
drinking, but legendary eating.
So also too,
Yeah.
Craig spoke on it earlier, the Undertaker interview with Corey Graves, and they told a really funny story. Undertaker did, and so when he would wrestle Yoko on house shows, he was like, so what I would do to piss Yoko off and blow him up was he would hit me. And I would bump and backflip as far away from him as I could get. And so then Yoko had to walk over to me and get me and punch me. When he punched me again, I would oversell and roll all the way back on the opposite of me. So he's like, I'm having Yoko ping pong and walk me. So Yoko would be out of breath going like, dead man, you want to joke, dead man? You want to joke? You want to joke? And so Undertaker's like, yeah, I'm laughing at this point, and I'm just doing it over and over again. He's getting blown up and pissed off. So he's like, at the end, when he gave me the bonsai splash, he would do, there's two ways you could do it. You can land on your feet to do the blow or kick your heels out. He was like, when I would fuck with him, guess what he did? Kicked his fucking heels out. And he's like, he's on me and I can't breathe. And he's like, oh, how funny is it now, dead man? You want to joke now, dead man? Oh, it's
I'm
so
too
funny.
tired to wait to get up.
Yeah, so like Undertaker was like, this is like my favorite memories of him was like he was funny and he was joking around and he was like he didn't panic. He was winded, but he was pissed. He gave me my receipt and I would laugh in the back afterwards, going, "Hey, you fucking sat on me, like you sat on me for real." And he would always whisper to him, he's like, "Oh, how funny is it now, dead man? You want to get up now, dead man?" Like so funny. Like so,
wow,
it's a great story.
That's fantastic. I love it. So, teaming up with Owen Hart and Churning Face, in March of 95, Owen Hart began promising he would have a great tag team partner to face off against the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, at WrestleMania 11 for the WWF Tag Team Championships. That's a forgotten tag team, and for good reason. At the event, Yoko, now weighing at 641 pounds, was revealed as Owen's partner, and they defeated the Smoking Guns to win those said tag team championships. Their reign lasted 6 months before losing them back to the Guns on Raw of September 25th of 1995.
I remember this. I mean, the place went nuts for Yoko when he came out, and I remember Owen beating him, and the crowd popped huge, and he was so happy. Like Owen was, he was jumping around.
He's jumping around, yeah.
He jumped in Yoko's arms and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it was a cool, fun moment. And they were a really fun tag team, actually.
Yokozuna has just squashed his own tag team partner and been dropped in. No! And new World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions, the Smoking Guns.
Actually, by the way,
We actually saw them live.
yeah, we saw them live.
They were
fun.
fun, yeah.
Really?
Luger and the Bulldog
During this
against
time,
Owen
yeah.
and Yoko. Yeah.
Yeah. Yoko, now weighing at 660 pounds. He lost a pound, Jess.
Oh, good.
Had little success in 1996 At the beginning of 96, Cornette had acquired Vader to join their stable. In storyline, Yokozuna felt Cornette was trying to push Yoko out. He eventually pulled away from Jim and turned face. He even spoke in English during promos, which he had never done before. Even Mr. Fuji came to the ring with him, waving the American flag. That's just fucking backwards. His only noteworthy match as a face came at WrestleMania 12 in a 6-man tag match. Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, and Vader defeated Jake Roberts, Ahmed Johnson, and Yoko in the opening bout. Guess not much to say there, right?
No, not really.
On Monday Night Raw, April 8th of 96, Vader attacked Yokozuna, and continuously Vader splashed Yoko's leg. As a result, his leg was broken in kayfabe, and he was taken out of the arena, not on a stretcher, but on a forklift.
Look of concern on everybody's face here at ringside. They had to lift Yokozuna to remove him from ringside. If, believe it or not, on a forklift, they couldn't get that 650 pounds up on the gurney, and you can see the intense pain in Yokozuna's face. The splint has been applied to his leg. I mean, I'm not even a doctor, and I can tell you, something snapped. I don't know if it's a medial collateral ligament or what, but something has snapped. McMahon is up in the ring, but...
That's terrible. That's not nice.
I mean,
behind the curtain, Yoko's
it was to mirror
was...
all those. At the time, a lot of videos were coming out. You know, when like heavy people would be taken out to the ambulance, they would have to knock the walls out.
Well,
I'm being serious.
Well, when did Gilbert Grape come out? I mean, this is about the same time,
right? And like, so I think Vince wanted to play on that, going, he's so big. It's like those videos where they have to knock the walls out because some fat, depressed person, sorry, I don't mean that to be rude, but they would go in a room and never come out, literally pee in jars and gain weight, and then they could not fit out the fucking doorway of their room. So if something medical happened to them, paramedics would have to come in, punch the walls down, the drywall down, to make a bigger thing and take them out that way. So Vince is like, what about we mock his fatness and take him out on a forklift? Like the spectacle. So that's what they did. They literally
was it mocking though? But I didn't see it. But like when I heard Dave said that, I was like, I don't think a stretcher could take him out at 660 pounds.
You are right on that. But they did. They put him on a wooden pallet and then they lifted the forklift.
So they were kind of being dicks about it.
Though you're right. I mean, like I just feel, because I don't know Vince personally, but we know Vince's thought pattern, that Vince is like, what if we do? Mock him because he's gaining weight.
He's in there with that lightweight Vader.
He loves cruel shit. Vince has always loved cruel shit.
Yeah, to heavy people, to like Adrian Adonis, and like he's done things to people who has gained too much weight. He liked Yokozuna at a nice 490, but when you're 661, fucking, you're way too fat. And so I'm gonna do shit to kind of tell you. And I you know what? Which, looking back, is trying to save his life. This is actually
why it happened. Like, his weight had become a concern. He was written off TV.
So they did it.
He go to a rehab center.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. In real life, it was so he could go to a rehab center and lose some weight.
Oh.
Yeah.
But on May 26th of 96, Yoko would return to face Vader
after 2 months, by the way. After 2 months, that was enough weight, and let's bring him back. So that's why I fucking call
That's the thing. That's why it's disingenuous. Is like 2 months. Like
660? Good to go.
Yeah, good to go.
Yeah, like,
pal, I need you.
Where do you take the weight loss and say that's good? You know?
Oh, 650.
The thing about Yoko is like
650. Wow, where you been, Slim? Come on, face Vader.
Yeah, you look at a cruiserweight. We got to throw a mask on. Call you.
You're a rail.
Oh shit!
Like.
Yoko stereo, come on!
Yeah, and I mean this whole pay-per-view is a dumpster fire because the entire power goes out during a storm. They had to wrestle under a spotlight powered by a generator that no one can see, whether it was a pay-per-view or in the actual house itself. By the way, the entire pay-per-view is pretty much cut off. 2 days later, on May 28th of 96, the company would have a second event from the same arena, having all the matches that were in the dark a couple days before. This included Yoko and Vader. This time, Vader would actually defeat Yokozuna, where in the past that didn't happen. In August of 96, at the SummerSlam pay-per-view, Steve Austin would defeat Yokozuna in a free-for-all match before the pay-per-view even went live. Yoko went to climb the ropes to deliver a bonsai drop, but the top rope broke, causing Yoko to fall back.
Go on.
Oh, gosh. And fall back on his head and get pinned by Austin.
This is what I was trying to say earlier.
You're not jumping on me.
Yeah.
With the thing with Yoko is like, I'm a guy. I weigh 241 pounds for 245 pounds now. But I've been 200, almost 290. And the matter of the difference of 40 pounds on a human being, like how you feel, is incredible. It's like how you walk. It's your energy level. Yeah. So if you're Yoko and you're doing what you do in the ring, and he had good cardio for tops 20 minutes a night, but he still traveled all day and he still ate like shit and he still had that like that schedule of a wrestler, like it must be unbelievable for him to like, I can't imagine what that dude felt like from 5 to 6 or 450 to 550. It's insane.
Sleep on hotel beds, or you know what I mean? Like
how did Andre?
Well, that's what I mean. Like Andre was big overall, and you know, he gained weight.
Yeah,
I mean, Yoko was so obese. Like, yeah.
And if your only addiction is food, if that was his deal, and they encouraged him to be fat, he's a Yokozuna the entire time. Well, it's hard to get your mental state.
When he crosses a certain weight, he's like, "That's too fat." It's like, well, what do you want?
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck? I just 3 years I got fat for you.
Not fat.
You're gonna be so fat when you go to when you go to do your finisher, you're gonna break the top rope. You're so fat.
I hate to be that guy, but you guys do watch the NFL on Sundays, right?
Make me laugh.
That's the same shit.
Yes, exactly. You're exactly right. That's what I'm saying. Like linemen when they retire have to lose that weight and can't. And
and even then, it's like, you have to. If you take off too much weight, you're gone. But then you put on too much weight, you're gone. You have to hit that nice 320 pound threshold as an offensive lineman.
You got to still be agile,
and still be athletic.
Still work.
I think it's one of the. If you want to shit on this, you could shit on that too. It's the same issue. So
good point.
Yeah, no, it is. It absolutely. It's tough, man. Like that was his job.
Now it's happening today. You know.
Yeah.
So. But I'll take that money. Shit, I'll take Yoko's money and an offensive line money in the NFL. I'll take it.
They work hard.
Just be a little fatty.
They work hard.
I'm a big fatty. So the next night on Raw, Yoko faced WWF World Championship champion Shawn Michaels for the title, teasing turning heel again. Despite using his size to bully the champion, Yoko lost the match to Michaels after taking sweet chin music. He is just getting buried at this point.
He ate his foot, I guess, is actually what happened.
I lost my foot.
Yoko's final WWF appearance was at Survivor Series of '96. He was barely in the match due to his size, making it pretty hard for him to even get between the ropes. For a second time, Yoko went to his home in Los Angeles to lose weight through exercise and dieting. Despite dropping a reported 100 pounds, he still could not lose enough to satisfy the WWF officials, and was not medically cleared to wrestle in some states because of his physical condition. Yokozuna was unable to pass a physical required for professional wrestlers by the New York State Athletic Commission. Now, here's what's interesting about that. If it was entertainment at this point, would he have been wrestling? Could he have died in the ring? I'm just asking a question for a friend.
Maybe.
I mean, I know state athletic commissions don't really have a thing anymore, especially because Vince is going.
Yeah, but they did here. And this is right on the cusp where they got rid of it. This is where it became entertainment.
I think Yoko knew that, like, I don't want to lose weight. I don't think you do realize you're getting bigger, but even at 490, he was big, right? Yoko's been big forever.
He was huge.
And as he got older and he gained more weight, I think he was just like, well, I'm big, right? Like, I don't... 490...
I did this last year. I can do it this year.
Yeah.
I'm the same guy.
If Yoko had gotten below 400 pounds, what's the attraction anymore?
Yeah, he wouldn't...
That sounds shitty to say.
Yeah.
But he came in at 500 pounds.
Yeah.
He was
a fat
part of the aura.
500 pounds. Yeah.
That was part of the aura.
I don't know what you do there. You're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. It is a weird place to be, and he's probably like, I just lost 100 pounds, and you still want to wrestle? Well, fuck you then.
Yeah,
and I kind of don't blame him for that. So after his career ended, he performed for various independent promotions. In '98, he wrestled for Maryland Championship Wrestling. I didn't even know that existed.
Sure.
The last major
MXW
Yokozuna was at October 1999 Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view at an estimated 700 pounds. He had not only gained the weight back he had lost, but admitted he was intentionally getting bigger with a goal weight between 850 to 900 pounds. So he would set a new record for the heaviest professional wrestler ever. Who was the heaviest, by the way? I don't even know.
I don't know either. I want to say Haystacks.
You would think Abdullah the Butcher.
Haystacks?
Oh, that's right. He was, yeah.
Well, Haystacks was like
The British
600
wrestler?
pounds, but
Gotcha.
no, that was
And he was tall.
fuck.
That was in my head too. I was like, I heard giant haystacks, and I was there's someone else. It's Haystack Calhoun,
he was a Loch
like
Ness
that.
monster in WCW, and I can't remember what his name was.
He was giant haystacks in Britain, like the Big Daddy era.
Yeah,
that big fat guy.
yeah.
But like,
yeah.
So at that pay-per-view event, Yoko was scheduled to take on King Kong Bundy in one of the event's 2 featured matches.
Holy shit.
However, Jake Roberts, who was scheduled to face Jim Neidhart in the Roberts and Neidhart in a minute. Jesus.
Jake the Snake and Jim Neidhart in an indie.
They came into the ring for his match intoxicated and in no condition to wrestle. I think I read about that. The promoters made a last-minute change and ordered Yoko to team with Roberts against Bundy and Neidhart, and Yokozuna's team's lost. So basically, Roberts on the outside of the ring can't go.
Yeah, you're super.
And Yoko was working the entire time.
Wait, so they were deemed too intoxicated, so they then put them in a tag match?
Yeah, there was 2 separate main events. It was Roberts and
Neidhart.
Yeah, Roberts and Neidhart. And
so they
Yoko
never went out and had the match.
Yeah,
this was all before.
So
okay.
instead of kicking Roberts
Jake
out,
was so
they just put
drunk
him
in
on
the
side
back,
of the
they're
ring.
like, just make it a tag match and cover up for his drunkenness. Basically, is what they did.
Yeah, and Yoko lost again. So not only losing, Yoko actually loses his life on October 23rd, 2000. Yoko died from pulmonary edema in his room at the Moat House Hotel in Liverpool while on an independent wrestling tour of Europe. At the time, it was widely reported that he died of heart failure or a heart attack, but this was later to be found incorrect due to his lungs showing severe signs of blockage due to fluid. Yep. His weight at the time was 580 pounds.
Well, and so I want to comment on that right now because that seems like he lost a lot of weight. Obviously, I think the weights I was quoting before, wrestling has a tendency to exaggerate heights and weights. I don't know. Look, I don't think Yoko ever hit 700. I think that almost 600 pounds is enough. And I think that his height, I just think that, I think they wanted to keep inflating him. I don't know how real
those weights.
I don't know how real. I don't know how real that statement was about him wanting to be 850 or 900. I don't know how real that was.
Right? Who knows if he ever was 600 pounds? Like to your point,
I think he probably.
You just don't know.
I think he wasn't his worst.
Right there,
but you're right, Craig. I think he was. But when in WWF, when they were hyping him as 600 pounds, I don't know if he was quite then. 500's enough, folks. Let me be clear on that.
Yeah,
but
we're fighting over.
With the way they exaggerated his weight over the years, I think when you look at the time of his death, he was 580. Maybe he was in the middle of trying to lose it, and it just got to the point of him, his lungs filling up with fluid from all the inflammation. He's just gonna die, like his heart's stressing, his lungs can't take it. I love pro wrestling, and I love. If I say I hate Kevin Sullivan or whatever, I've never been in the business, right? And I hate the way he wrestles, and I do. That's a true statement. But I respect everybody that's taking it seriously and putting their lives on the line. This guy was an obese guy that every promoter wanted to base his gimmick off that. And let me read this. I might get emotional. He died at the Moat House Hotel.
Yeah.
In Liverpool. Come on, man. WWF World Heavyweight Champion was in the ring with Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, Undertaker. Jim Cornette was his manager. Partners with Owen Hart. Do I have to go on? Vader, he fought.
Yeah.
He died at the Moat House Hotel in Liverpool. God, man. It makes me sad. Really does. He was huge, and in his mind, he's like, dude, that's what I am, right? I've been big my whole life. And of course, I know I shit on Vince a little bit, whatever, but it is what it is, right? It was big. Vince is going to make money with this guy. It's just so sad that he died overseas, away from his family, at 500 to 600 pounds, whatever you want to say is the real weight, in the Moat House Hotel in Liverpool. I don't care if that's the nicest hotel ever, and the name just sounds rancid, right?
It's their Motel 6.
Man, come on. Yeah, it
sounds bad. It sounds about the same.
Yeah, it sounds like an old boat that they just fucking made a hotel, that's on the moat, or whatever on the river. It's come on.
But Yokozuna is staying in any motel. Like,
it makes
he
me
doesn't
sad.
fit in anything.
Fucking
Like
makes me
Andre,
sad.
like every day was a grind for him. Every day was a challenge. Like every bed, every motel, there was never anything bigger. Like we haven't even said it. Like congrats to us. We're respecting him. All the stories we heard about him breaking toilets, right?
Right, yes.
It was all like fun to kind of say and joke back then, but like live a day in that dude's life. Like on
You're
the road.
a grown man
Like,
and you go to take a shit. First of all, your ass encompasses the toilet. I am not making a joke. Think about your toilet at home and think about the fact that his genetics, he had more weight in his thighs and ass, right? Like, and sitting on a toilet, how did he shit? Honestly, like
I have a nice tight ass. I shit on my hand every day. I bunch it up and then I wipe front to back, but I still get a little bit like on my thumb sometimes.
I gotta get in a frog.
I'm 44.
What am I doing right now? What am I hearing right now?
Well, I gotta get in a frog position sometimes and wipe my ass with the wipes, right? Like, 'cause I gotta make sure it's clean, Dave. You bullshit, Dave.
Let's not
Bullshit.
shit.
Like you don't get shit on your hand at 44, Dave.
But
It happens.
But think about it. Go on the other end. 500 to 600 pounds. Genetically, you know how big his thighs and his ass were.
We're still not having a moment anymore.
How the fuck can he sit on a toilet? Think about him sitting on a toilet. Of course, you know, and like you said, like, you know, people laughed about it. Oh, I'll tell you, one time Rodney, he broke the toilet. That's a fucking tragedy. Like, just him breaking the toilet. It's like, really? Like, that's a human being that was just sitting down to take a poop, and he broke the toilet. I mean, think about that moment. It's funny to say that moment, right? And go, oh my God. But like, think about him as a human being crashing to the ground with broken porcelain everywhere, being like, I just broke a fucking toilet. Like,
and
you know,
then
like,
had to drive 350 miles to Bakersfield to make a Sunday hit.
For a fucking, for $600 or $1,000 or whatever his fee was for the day.
So Mabel could fart on him.
Yeah, like, So you Bundy and Duggan could be drunk or whatever. Like, come on.
Let's jump into the accomplishments and the wrap up here. Yoko was a member of the Inoue wrestling family. I don't think this is everybody on the list because there's a lot of people, but Roman Reigns, Rikishi, Samu, Rosie, Manu, Umaga,
Rosie,
and The Rock were among his cousins. Yeah, just saying. The Usos were his first cousins once removed, and Alpha and Sika were his uncles. He also had two children, Justin and Kaylani. I think we're missing Naya, right? In this mix, there's a lot.
She's a distant cousin. She's a cousin of Roman, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, so it still goes down the lineage.
No, she's
The Rock. Oh, The Rock.
The Rock, right? The Rock, right?
So it's a very impressive lineage, and when you get into these accomplishments, Pro Wrestling Illustrated actually listed him as the most improved wrestler of the year in 1993.
Cuz you like Nia? Big fan, cuz?
No, I am.
Fan.
Get it right.
The next Yoko.
PWI ranked him number 5 in the 500 best single wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 1993. And his accolades in the WWE, he was a 2-time WWF Tag Team Champion with Owen Hart. He was a 2-time WWF World Heavyweight Champion. He won the Royal Rumble in 1993. And he became part of the WWE Hall of Fame, the class of 2012. So it took 12 years to induct him after his death. A little less than 12 years.
Yeah. Man, it's sad. It truly is.
Yeah. It's too fast. I mean, it's way too fast. And we did a good job. We did a good job covering it today. We put more than an hour into it, and I think it deserves more. Yoko put a lot of work in. When you start to think about the top faces of these generations years before, they didn't put in the work like Yoko did. Yoko was working every night, like we talked about. Now, how difficult is that with the hotel stays and the drives? And on top of that, you are a 500-pound man minimum, and making that happen. Yoko put it in, and Yoko earned everything he got. You know, so I think he deserves a lot more respect than he gets. I think
you can say all the names as
forgotten. Yeah,
he was
top
34 years old when he died.
Yeah, that's my age right now.
I mean, he was in his mid to late 20s when he won his first world title.
Yeah.
And he defeated Hulk Hogan. He defeated Bret Hart.
How many people can say that at that point?
It's like but he was agile. He was agile as shit, and he knew timing. He knew timing, like, which is amazing. Like, he was heavy. He would do standing kicks to your face. The leg drop was awesome. The belly to belly was awesome. The bonsai drop was a spectacle in itself. But I mean, he did all these other great impact moves, but he knew timing. He knew how to be a heel. He knew when to cut the face off when they were getting super hot and fucking pop him real quick and bring the crowd back down. Yoko was so good, especially in his 20s. You got to think about when he did this stuff, his late 20s, when he was in the
his Sweet Chin music was just as good as Michael's, man.
He was in the WWF, the #1 American promotion, and won the world championship in his late 20s. Fucking amazing. And he died.
If you had to say, if you had to do the whole Mount Rushmore or your 4 horsemen of monsters, Andre, Vader, Brock, Yoko. Those were the best built big monsters.
Yoko is underrated. I don't think a lot of people talk about him enough. And like,
that's why he should be up there, though.
I can't believe he hasn't been a part of our underrated episodes, actually.
That's true. Dave, there's several parts of those, Dave. Stop spoiling it for the audience.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Fun fact, on the network, you go to Hall of Fame, you scroll all the way down because the last WWE Hall of Famer on the network is Yokozuna.
Yeah.
So you click on him, you can read his bio as the very, very last one.
He was awesome. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, no, very, very cool. You might even argue, I could be wrong, at that point, was he the youngest WWF champion?
I don't know, maybe at the time. Because I know
at the time,
Brock would do it later, and then Orton would do it after that.
Exactly right.
6 years before he died. So,
He might have been,
People need to know more about Yoko. Like he needs to be respected more. And I think we talked about it earlier, but it's very true. Like you don't understand and respect it until you kind of saw him in the moment and in the time that he was wrestling.
He can make a fan today that knows it's all scripted and like, it's fake. I don't believe it. You can go back and show a fan like that and show Yokozuna, and they can be like, that guy seems like a fucking scary monster that will actually hurt you. And
especially against prelims, Jesus. You show any
show the prelims. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
God, in the world of prelims.
Exactly. He had that aura, that Brock aura.
But then again, if he would have lost 300 pounds, like, there's no reason he couldn't, because he was better than Rikishi. He was more agile than Rikishi. Like, who knows what he could have been if he really wanted to be a skinny guy.
Yeah.
He was told to be a fat guy. His gimmick was being a fat guy, was being a sumo wrestler. Like, but he still respected himself to not wear the leggings. Like, good for him, man. Like,
he made fat guys feared at that time.
Yeah. To Jess's the image says short life, huge
impact.
Yeah,
that's completely true. That's Yokozuna.
Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms.
Hit you up on Instagram,
including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. And don't forget, we're also part of the Wrestle Hub family, all about wrestling podcast. Catch them at the Wrestle Hub on YouTube and Instagram. This is Dave, Jess, Cousin Craig with the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one. Say it with life.